So speaking of death, I know that you went on an ayahuasca retreat recently, and I want to hear all about that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so okay, so first of all, when did you go?
Um, 3 weekends ago. Yeah.
Okay, so very recently, so it's like very fresh. Do you still
Yeah.
feel any type of way from it?
Yeah. I'm definitely forever changed.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. Like massively.
Well, yeah, walk me through like day one, like what happened?
So, yeah. Well, it's interesting is like my nurse was there, some other cancer survivor, and cancer people going through cancer.
Oh, wow.
So it ended up kind of being a little bit cancer themed, I guess you could
People that you
say.
knew already?
Yeah.
Did they
And one that I didn't know that
uh
had also stage 4 cancer.
and did they go because you recommended it to them or just
One of them, but not the other one. Just I think it just happened to be that way,
wow.
which was interesting, and it played into the first night as far as yeah, like we all got brought up to the center of the room, but yeah, like a lot came out. Like each night was so different too, and the first night was really really tough, but I kind of liken it to being like smashed open with like a sledgehammer,
Mhm.
and it cracked some kind of deep shell that was in me. A lot of it had to do with anger, and which is interesting because I don't feel like an angry person, like, but there was definitely like deep in there, like, you know, probably a lifetime of like frustrations, but then, you know, maybe passively suppressed or all these things
Mhm.
where it's just deep in there, it's just sitting there. And there's, you know, spiritually so much link with cancer and anger.
Sure.
So it was a pretty huge thing to have busted open that felt like a necessary part of like, oh, if I'm going to actually heal this, you can throw chemo and this drug and all these, you know, curcumin and all these things at it all day. But if you don't heal the seed
Yeah.
of the spiritual part of it, then nothing will really heal. So that definitely felt like that was happening the first night, and I would say I almost got put on trial is
Yeah.
what it felt like a little bit, but it was awesome and it was necessary, and I cried probably harder than I've ever cried that night.
Yeah.
um, and it was a weird kind of cry, and I didn't feel like any of the psychedelic stuff, and I felt like stone cold sober, but the emotional everything, there was like stuff, old wounds from teenage years,
Yeah.
like unworthiness, all these things came out, up and out,
Yeah.
but then totally refreshed the next day and bonded with the family of that group of people and really intensely from that. And then the second night, beautiful singing, dancing.
Well, let's talk about the first night a
Yeah.
little bit more. I mean, I think that's totally understandable for you to have anger and you've gone through so much suffering now and from your childhood, and I'm sure there's been other moments that most people don't have to go through.
Yeah.
I never went through any of that,
Yeah.
so I imagine there's like this why me, this type of, confusion, and but you overcame everything and you're smiling about everything, but yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean it's like healed on the inside.
Yeah. Like it's
Yeah.
just deep in there. Or like a lot of it I think had to do with like authority, you know, the external world, like the seeing the injustices and, you know, the things that we're all mad about,
Uh-huh.
getting very frustrated about a lot of stuff that really doesn't have anything to do with me, but also you feel like it's, you know, it's all our planet, it's all our fight.
Yeah.
I was big into this whole fight for truth and for justice and all this stuff, but yeah,
Like,
interesting that it actually like shattered
oh wow.
that basically is like you don't have anything to do with that anymore,
Yeah.
and has like broken almost, I would say, an addiction to knowing about it and following along with it, the external stuff. So
Yeah.
it just completely, like, since then I haven't.
Yeah. So these injustices that you were attached to in terms of like your advocacy for them or against them, um, that's something that you held on to for your whole life.
I would say in the last 10 to
10
15
years.
years of like, getting into it and, rabbit holing and all these things
Yeah.
that definitely, yeah, all of it was something that became, it became very clear to me that that all had to go for me to like heal, and
Yeah.
that any paying attention to that would just
Yeah.
let the anger keep pooling up, or like, and really none of it has anything directly to do with me. So I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But it took, I had to kind of break the addiction and that, just the habit of it, I think,
Mm.
the frequency.
Yeah. I drove, I do capoeira and it's like a Brazilian martial arts. I drove this kid home. He's not a kid, he's like 28. Drove him home after class one day last week. And this was my first time spending time with him. I talked to him like a little bit in class here and there, but man, he was like so weird. And he just like had nothing but negative things to say.
Well,
He was complaining about his old school in Santa Barbara, about all the people there you know, were like immature or they, they're in school. Like, what do you expect,
yeah,
But the amount of negativity that he was putting on external things that had nothing to do with him was like, was really hard for me to absorb. Like, I felt like I needed to go home and like take a shower
yeah, it
after
is.
speaking
Yeah,
with him,
it was like toxic energy.
I didn't know how to handle that energy, and I haven't seen that or experienced that for a long time. Um, but maybe I didn't know him that well. Like we only had like 15 minutes in the car together, so I don't know where he's coming from. But my first impression was just like, man, like why are you saying like, why are you so mad about all these things
Yeah,
that have nothing to do with you?
yeah.
You know?
It's a slippery slope too, because what's interesting is like I didn't ever feel mad throughout my day, but you do still feel it.
Yeah,
Like you can go around smiling and be happy all day, but like if you're still about,
yeah,
this, that, and the other, then you are still that, you
yeah.
just might not express it too.
And if it's toxic in any degree, I think it manifests itself in a physical way. So I'm glad that, you know, that's just like another tool you have now to like fight this cancer, I feel
Yeah,
like.
it felt like a huge necessary thing to break through. So, and then also it was like the crack of my armor or whatever, my shell got opened up, and like some sort of deeper message just got like, whoom,
Yeah.
boom, implanted in there to re-scramble my
Yeah.
circuits in the best way.
So I forgot to ask, like, is it okay for you to do ayahuasca while you're in the middle of treatment? Like, did you talk to your doctors
Yes,
about this?
yeah, yeah, and we did. Like I did stop chemo for a couple weeks before treatment, and then I
Mm-hmm.
stopped certain supplements, and then I stopped other medication like two
And
days
and they were
before.
all okay with it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, my doctor recommended it as
Really?
someone who he had also done it, and
Yeah.
he's like, for you, I think, basically he's like having a soul will no longer be like a faith-based thing, like you'll know.
Yeah.
And I think he's like, it couldn't be a better time. And actually, it's weird, as I joked about, this is dark, but I joked a year ago about like, oh, I would do ayahuasca if I had like a terminal disease or something.
Yeah.
It's like, whoops, fast forward a year later, like, be careful what you joke about, but kind
Yeah.
of lesson. But
Why do you think now? I mean, I know you're going through cancer and everything, but why haven't you done it before?
I don't know. Yeah, I was kind of like intimidated by it, or just like
Yeah.
it felt like a lot. But then I've been kind of following like this divine timing thing in my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I just know, like, oh, that's just not yet, but I know it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
It a little bit also felt like that, where it's like, I know I have a future with it. It's just not now. And then now having this last 3-night ceremony is very clear why this had to be my first time, because it
Mm-hmm.
was so epic and so life changing, and so like this missing puzzle piece, or this necessary key
Yeah.
to unlock like the door for me
Yeah.
in life. So it would have been less impactful had I done it sooner. So I think I was just listening to my intuition
Yeah.
with that. But it was definitely like a scary thing too. Like when I thought about it, it was like, ugh, like even though I saw Marcy coming home, always felt like she was always improving and elevating every experience she had. There was some sort of healing or thing that was shed,
Hmm.
or yeah, just saw always positive change in her. But it was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that, because it sounded intense. Like everybody that talks about it, it doesn't sound like, it's not fun. It's not unicorns and rainbows. And
Yeah.
the second night was for us, and that was cool to know that there is also joy and like
Sure.
singing and stuff. And actually, I had a crazy interdimensional experience on the second night.
Wait, okay, so for the first night so how long did it last for you?
So we were up, yeah, till I was up till 6 or 7 in the morning.
Oh wow, so they started probably pretty late
Yeah,
then.
like 10 or 11. Yeah.
What happens during the day? Did you like talk about your
Yeah, we had
experiences
like
or
group
interpret it?
share, and
Okay,
then just, yeah, just everybody kind of hanging and
I see.
talking, which was really awesome too. And like so much wisdom from like everybody.
Sure. What is that like? So are they, because in my experience, it was so important to have a guide there.
Mhm.
I went to Peru and it ended up being just me and the guide, actually. Nobody showed up,
Yeah,
which is
it's
crazy
crazy.
during
Yeah.
like the busiest time. But man, it was so important to have him there to be able to interpret it, what happened to me.
Yeah.
Because like without him, like I would have been like, I would have no idea. Like I would have just been freaked out.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, so like, did you have that, or like maybe you got that from talking with people, or maybe like the shaman helped you kind of interpret?
Like our really good friend Brad, he plays music through the whole time, and he's kind of like leading the group energy, I feel like, with his music and just his energy. But he's such a humble,
Yeah,
like in the background guy about it. But his wisdom, yeah, like he was that guy for me. Like
cool.
anything deep to share.
So you had that support.
Yeah, and he was able to see what was going on too. So he had things, like it wasn't like I had to even ask him anything. Like he
Yeah.
had his report already for me, which was beautiful.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And everybody had something too, which was cool.
Yeah. What was that music like?
It was unbelievable. Like yeah, like I felt called to serve any way I can to
Yeah.
help record them and work with them and like do anything, because I was just like, this is pure magic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine was the same way. That music, I felt it through my body for sure. Um, it drove me like because you have to throw up like every time, right?
So I actually didn't throw up the whole 3 nights, but
Really?
other people threw up
So you just let that stuff
for
in.
me, I would say. Like
Oh
other
wow.
people, and they said, I think I threw up for you. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that I knew, yeah, like I knew that they were throwing up for me.
Maybe you needed it in your body to
I
like,
felt like I
you
was like,
know?
I could feel the consciousness of it.
Yeah.
And it was like, every drop of me needs to be in you.
Yeah.
Like, you're not getting rid. I was very nauseous, and I could have made myself throw, but I didn't have like but I also felt like too is like, oh, this guy throws up all the time, because I do throw up from vitamin C and sometimes from chemo, and
You didn't throw up at all.
so I didn't throw up from this because maybe she knew to be easy on me, because like,
So it would just come out like through your pee, I guess.
yeah, I mean, I
You're
just
like you're just
normal,
normal.
yeah, and the nausea
Wow.
did go away after 4 hours, yeah.
That's wild. Like I can't imagine not throwing up,
Everybody
actually.
around me was throwing up almost instantly,
Yeah.
almost the whole night too.
Yeah.
Like, so it was, even that was enough to make you like nauseous, but I just didn't. Yeah.
That's wild. I don't know that much about ayahuasca, but I just can't imagine.
But yeah, like
Because
it
it
did feel like
tastes
other
like
people. I liked the taste of it. It was
you
weird.
did like the
Yeah, I did like the taste. And
taste.
everyone's like, "Oh, the taste is so bad." And I was like, "I really." And there was sprays. So
Okay.
these sprays that were these floral things that they made, from where they get the medicine. It kind of like linked up
Hmm.
somehow with the taste, the smell of that stuff, and it was like interesting smell
Okay.
and taste, but it didn't bother me.
Okay.
But I definitely felt, yeah, nausea, and I felt other people like literally throwing up for me. Like, and they
Yeah.
said that too after. which was a trip.
Okay, so first ceremony was over. You didn't have any visuals or anything.
Maybe a little bit at the end of the night, but really not. I was just so like
It was like mostly
crying,
in your body, in your
basically.
body.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our dear friends, the Makosi Foundation, who they do a lot of song and a lot of, yeah, music is a huge part of what their tradition. So they started busting into their songs,
Wow.
which were the coolest
How many
ever.
people were
I
singing?
think there's like eight, maybe seven, eight of them.
Okay.
But then the whole group, we just all got in singing and dancing.
Oh wow, dancing too.
And then shortly after all that, I had like an interdimensional experience. I kind of went back to my mat and went inside myself. Well, when I closed my eyes, I saw a seraphim, which is like a angel. It's not really something that's in my mind very often, but I do remember it from Wrinkle in Time book growing up. But it's a many winged angel with many eyes,
Mm.
and I guess they're like above the archangels or whatever, but they're kind of like this amorphous thing with just a bunch of wings all coming off of them and eyes everywhere. And when I closed my eyes, I would see that very clearly. And the wings were folding and the eyes were there blinking at me. And then I felt it kind of like come in and like engulf me. And then I was inside my body and I could see my cells and I could see the red blood cells and the white blood cells. And I was just looking at all these cells going, oh my God, all these little individuals, they're all little individual life forms, yet they're me. Like I am all of this, but also they are not me. They're themselves, they're their own thing. So was just totally mind blown about that whole
Yeah.
idea. And then actually went into my lungs and went into the one tumor that's a little bit bigger in my lung and burrowed into it. And I could see it everywhere. It was like amorphous, weird white. And I just felt sad. Like I just was like, what happened here? Like, how did I get so off the rails that allowed cancer to grow like this? Um, yeah, I just remember feeling heartbroken for the cancer too, and just like asked for forgiveness. And I also forgave it. And there was just like a lot of love and forgiveness for this situation.
Like the cancer itself was a living organism
Yeah,
to be respected.
that needed to be thanked as well for like that came the next morning. But it was, yeah, forgiveness was the biggest thing. It was like, I forgive you and please forgive me too. Like I allowed this to happen or I am responsible for this. So but yeah, I started packing to that beat, which that beat was moving in my body really strongly. Like there might as well just been, the Roots drummer right there playing right behind my head. Like the beat was in me.
Yeah.
And we're packing the cancer up. It was me basically packing this into this little, what ended up becoming like a little light seed. And then I knelt in front of God, which was nothing. I couldn't see anything, but I could feel it. And it almost like kneeling in front of a mountain that just goes straight up. It felt like that large, but there was nothing too. But there was a little bowl there. And I basically knelt down and gave God the seed, which was me. It was my soul. It was like the root of me. But it was also the cancer, and then it was also like the world's pain and the confusion and the sadness and everything going on this planet that breaks my heart too. And just gave it all in that little bowl. And I was bawling as this is happening, and the group is coming around me and putting their hands on me. And so, yeah, it was pretty like huge.
Yeah.
But I felt the seraphim there, and Metatron was there. It was an archangel, which I've got like Metatron's cube, like 6, 7, 8 different places in the studio here. I've just been drawn to that.
Is that it?
That's one too. Yeah, and that's a better one there.
Yeah. Can you hold that up towards you?
This is it. If you look at it a certain way, but
what is that? So what is that?
So it basically is all the atomic structures in one, but it's also like an archangel, an angel form. Yeah. So I don't know why I've been like drawn to that since like 2012.
Okay.
But I felt that symbol and that angel there with the seraphim. And then after I was done with the bowl and the seed,
Yeah.
the seraphim said, "It is finished." And it was kind of, oh yeah. And I remember a feeling of kind of like Lord of the Rings, like when the ghost army comes, when they think all hope is lost and, they're doomed. And then all of a sudden Gandalf and like the ghost army and all the allies come, and you just get that feeling of like, yes, we're gonna win.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be okay. That basically happened as I was packing it and giving God the seed. That was like everybody was there. Like I looked behind, it was like 1,000 years of ancestors.
Yeah.
But I could kind of see their faces. But I just looked at them. I was like, whoa.
Wow.
I just knew they were there. And our cats were there, and my cat who had passed last year from the same cancer that I'm dealing with now, adenocarcinoma.
Yeah.
I was trying to save his life for the year before, but he was there the whole time with me through that too. So, but it was just this feeling of like all my family, all my friends, Marcy, our cats, everybody was just like pouring in, and we were basically healing this cancer. And that was as I was packing it. So it was pretty cool. It was like a very epic kind of, but it was interesting as that, I'm having this like totally inside journey, but I'm also very aware of the room and very like almost sober too. If I open my eyes, I could just be in the room. But
it sounded like everybody in the room was aware of what you were going through also.
Yeah, I mean, because I by the end was bawling, crying. I was kneeling down on the ground, basically dropping the seed as if I was bowing to God, but I was bawling. Yeah, there was people knew that something was going on, so they came and gave me a lot of support.
That's wild. A lot of like archetype type of stuff happening. A lot of symbolism.
Yeah.
Did you talk about that with anybody or look into it further since then? Or like, what does it all mean?
I think just, sharing with the group. And for me, it felt like that it is finished, like the real healing. So like I'm healing everything on the 3D with chemo and all the different things. But this other level on a soul level happened on that weekend.
Okay.
And I think that was that it is finished, is that I did what needed to be done.
I see.
For that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I wonder why my experience wasn't like that. But it happened,
They say every night is different, and even the third night, like so.
Yeah, okay, so
every journey, every night, wherever, even the type where it comes from too, like.
I mean, mine was pretty incredible. I've already told you about my experience already and shared it with like social media, but I don't have any regrets at all. But yours sounds really fun.
Now, do you feel like you want to do it again, or?
I'll probably do it again, but maybe not for several years.
Okay.
I actually joked with my guide that I'll come back to Peru someday. And when I come back, I'll bring my wife.
Nice.
Which I don't have.
Yeah.
Once I get one, I mean.
Yeah.
But, he was saying like minimum 6 months or like maximum or like wait at least 6 months before you come back. But I'll probably, just wait until it feels right.
Yeah.
And listen to my tuition. I think that really put my intuition into the forefront of my life, like where it was like so subdued before.
Right.
It was so, I never really thought to follow it or put any importance into following your intuition. But my intuition brought me there. I've always thought about it, but I never was in the right place mentally, emotionally, financially. And I feel like I was in a place in my life where I had all these decisions to make. I mentioned before, like my job is temporary. So I was like, what am I going to do with that? And trying to figure all these things out. And my therapist just was saying like, I was even thinking about going on antidepressants, to be honest. But honestly, one of the reasons why I was holding off is because I didn't want to go on antidepressants, because if I did that, then I wouldn't be able to do ayahuasca, which I've always wanted to do.
Oh, yeah.
So she was just like, just go do ayahuasca
Yeah.
then. I'm like, yeah, why don't I? Like, I have the money, and like I could take off of work and I'll be fine. Like, why don't I just go do it? And like, so I just kept on for so long, just like making things complicated in my head and making excuses, or just didn't have the confidence. So, but I always had that intuition that I wanted to go and
Yeah.
do it. So I finally followed it. And then surprisingly, my guide told me um, that intuition was probably one of my strongest
Hmm.
character traits,
Wow.
which I never even thought of before. Like, but he, for some reason, he felt that my intuition was strong. And I talked about this with my therapist as well. And she was like, yeah, your intuition is really good. Like, you should listen to it more. Your judgment is not so great, though. Like, what you do with it or the decision that you make around it, we can work on. But your intuition is very strong. And so now, yeah, I kind of trying to be more sensitive, meditate every day, but also like try to listen to my intuition, like stop to think of like what the first thing that pops into my mind
Yeah.
is, and not and try just like try to be more in the present moment and sensitive to the present moment. And you know, I guess in a simplistic way, I'll just go with what the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Like when there's a decision to make, large or small. Oh, where are we going to dinner tonight? You know, let's go to this direction. You know, and this like this pops into my head, like this idea, and like
Yeah.
let's go this way. You know, and
That's
so I just
awesome.
trying to like follow my intuition in that way lately, I guess.
That's awesome.
And it's been like pretty good. You know, life has been good. I feel like you. I feel so much lighter. Um, I met a girl. Hopefully things will go well. We'll see. But pretty happy so far. Um, I'm doing this interview. Like I feel like I'm living life to the fullest.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
cool.
this past week we talked about. It was a little weird, like energy wise.
Yeah.
Like I felt tired and you know, not 100%. I've been like on my phone a lot lately, but you know, it's all good. You know, it goes in waves. Like sometimes I'm present, sometimes I'm struggling, but I still feel grounded. I still feel happy. I still feel strong and emotionally powerful. You know, and I don't feel like there's anything more that I could do with my days.
That's awesome.
You
Yeah.
know, like I'm living every day to the best of my ability, and I'm just like really happy and excited to see like what's gonna happen.
So cool. That's
Yeah,
a sweet spot to be in.
yeah, it's really amazing. But anyways, let's. I want to hear about your third ceremony. Right,
Yeah.
there was a third one, right?
There was a third night. Yeah.
Okay, so what was that like?
The third night was wild. It was, so there was the storm, that hurricane or whatever that was supposed to be coming through.
Yeah,
So it was pretty chaotic outside, and like, crazy rain, crazy wind, and
mm,
things being blown over. And um, I think it added to like the wildness of the room. That night was like almost incomprehensible. Like just the state people were in. I could see the energy flying around and just like boom, like just blasting people. Like I don't know what was happening, but there was something going around, and just like somebody would throw up and then would fly around and knock someone else and they'd be crying. And
yeah,
so it felt like there was a big presence in the room,
yeah,
and the energy felt more wild. Like it felt like people were more like animal, like, or there was like a lot of like I was making weird sounds that just felt natural, and like weird little clicking sounds. I have no idea why. And like someone else next to me was also,
yeah,
to kind of play it into this like energy in the room, this animal energy. So it was weird. It was kind of like it wasn't peaceful and ecstatic like the second night, but it wasn't terrible or wasn't bad per se, but it was just intense.
yeah,
And there were times where I was like, oh man, is this going to freak me out? Is this
yeah,
now going to get too much? Like, because I started to feel it like build up in my body. But I just like would sit cross-legged and just like straighten my spine as much as possible, and just warrior breath, and just like
yeah,
imagine myself like with staves kind of hitting the ground. So like whatever energy was there that could have been intense or scary,
Mm.
just like breathe and just be strong and just let it know that it's just doing its work. You know,
Mm.
it's not bad. It's not nice per se, or like, like easygoing either. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely different. I was like, okay. Like it for a second was like, oh man, can I do this again?
Yeah.
Because it felt like it was hitting that peak
Well,
intensity.
I mean,
But
plus you just went through like these crazy 2 nights before
yeah,
too, like that's exhausting. Like I also did a 3 ceremony thing, and yeah, my third one I just felt totally exhausted.
yeah, and I didn't sleep the first 2 nights, like, 6, 7 in the morning, and then I'm still talking to people, just like so
Yeah.
moved by everything. So I slept maybe an hour or two during the day, and I
Wow.
just ate so much food. I was just like so hungry.
Was there a lot of food there?
We brought like there was different breads, and it's funny because I'm like eating keto,
Yeah.
like normally, but that
Yeah, what was the
that weekend
diet
was
like?
not keto at all. It was just
Yeah.
like breads and
Uh-huh.
fruit and
You brought your
potatoes.
own
And
food, right?
yeah, and the Makosis cooked really delicious soups or just like
Oh,
different
they did.
chicken, and so
Oh,
yeah,
right.
so it was kind of
Okay.
like a group
Okay.
um, contribution stuff of like nuts and yeah, just
I see.
snack stuff. But I just couldn't stop eating. Like I was like wanted
But
food.
but no meat, right?
Just a little chicken, but no, yeah, no red meat or
Oh, they let you eat meat there,
yeah,
but they
just a
didn't.
little
Okay.
bit. Yeah,
Okay. Interesting.
I think it's more the red meat that they were like. But even there was coffee too, and there like coffee is supposed to be one of the things you don't do.
Yeah, stimulants.
And I never stopped coffee leading up to.
Okay.
I stopped everything else. I stopped cannabis. I did the dieta, and I stopped like the medication, but coffee I just lowered to 1 cup because I was like, there's just no way. I love coffee too much. But even the morning of the
Yeah.
ceremony, I would have like 2 cups of coffee. So
Well, I mean, I love coffee too, but my guide said to stay away from stimulants also. And
yeah, it's definitely recommended, and it
yeah.
might interfere with the metabolism of it. So like, I did feel like it took till a lot later in the night to get into the like
Okay.
upside down Z land.
Yeah.
So whether that's coffee or whatever, like,
Yeah.
but I could see if you're too stimulated, like the energy of I would be like, whoa.
I mean, even now, like that was in July, right now it's September. I still feel like buzzy, like high, like I'm operating like with high vibrations.
Yeah,
But when I drink coffee, I'm just more sensitive, and I feel like my vibrations get lower.
yeah.
Like I get a little numb.
Wow, yeah. Well,
So
that's cool that you got to tune to what.
yeah, but I still enjoy it, and I have days where I lose sleep and I get really tired, so I'll drink like maybe once or twice a week.
Yeah,
Um, it actually really helps with my digestion, actually.
yeah. That's the part.
So like
The
whenever
best
I want
part.
to like clean out my colon or I need to go, I'll drink some coffee too.
That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what its superpower is.
Yeah. Wow. So did you speak to any of the other cancer patients about their experience? Like how was their experience?
So yeah, there was one girl who just kind of was there for the first night, and I
She
don't know,
couldn't handle
she
it.
seemed like she had a rough night or a weird night or something.
Yeah.
Um, and then our friend who is a cancer survivor, yeah, she was there for just 2 nights.
Yeah.
She had a really profound, intense couple nights too.
Uh-huh.
But she was up there with me while I was on trial on the
What?
first night. She
Oh,
was like linked arms, like all three of the cancer
yeah.
people were linked up. Um,
I don't think that's a coincidence that like it became like this fight,
yeah,
like this
that's
cancer
it.
fight
Yeah,
with
everybody
all
kind
these other
of
people, you know.
was like, well, this is all for a reason for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the third night was over, and then that was it.
Yeah, that was it. We just headed home on Monday, and
Okay.
yeah,